I try to wake up grateful every morning. But of course, I wake up however I wake up. Refreshed or groggy, anxious from a dream or happy from a memory, calmly from the sun streaming in the window, or annoyed from my phone's alarm. Before I fully wake up, I try to tell myself to start the day with gratitude and maybe even a little bit of joy. Psalm 18 says, "This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us exult and rejoice in it." That is a tall order these days. The world is filled with brokenness. Our democracy is under attack. Political violence is becoming normalized. Immigrants are being picked up off the streets. The National Guard is deployed in our urban centers. The war in Israel and Gaza continues with hostages still being held for 717 days. The headlines each day are of Gazans dying, school shootings are happening, federal workers are mocked and derided, and Jewish life feels insecure. I feel a real cognitive dissonance between the praise of that psalm and the world that I live in. It is hard to be grateful in such an imperfect world at such an imperfect time. Anguish has moved from the emotional margins towards the center, and daily I have conversations throughout the building and in coffee shops, in the grocery stores with community members struggling with the uncertainties and anxieties of this moment. A Gallup poll recently reported that almost 1 in 6 Americans are being medically treated for anxiety or depression now. And of course, that is a record high. This is not sustainable for our own health, let alone for our sense of community and country. I experienced something very small this summer which helped me snap out of my melancholy. It was just before the 4th of July this year, and a little known fact, and I might get in trouble for sharing this, but my wife married a rabbi, and that means you occasionally end up in a sermon. Sarah loves fireworks. Not just enjoys them, but truly looks forward to this midsummer treat. This year, we went to see fireworks a few days before the 4th. Shosh, Sarah, and I parked in a nearby lot, and there were young children already in their pajamas, families with folding chairs. Others were already deep into their tailgate party. It would all culminate with the excitement of the fireworks. And one person in particular caught my attention. I didn't talk to him, but it appeared to me that he lived in a group home for people with developmental differences. He was about 20 years old, in a wheelchair and accompanied by an aide. They were off near their van. The side door was open. The wheelchair ramp was extended. The whole crowd was anticipating the fireworks to begin, but I could not have anticipated what would happen next. As the first fireworks were launched from their tubes and gloriously exploded in the sky, this young man cheered with sheer delight. For the next 15 minutes, he was screaming and laughing with complete joy. "Go, go, go," he yelled. "Do it! Do it!" Wow. And as if he were an Olympic judge, 10. He clapped and thrust excitedly in his chair. His enthusiasm was undiluted. The beauty he experienced was unadulterated by the burdens of the world, the headlines, the pressures, the pains. I witnessed an exuberance which I had not seen or felt in a long time. I'm sure my days are physically easier than his in terms of mobility and eating and dressing, but if this was any indication of the beauty that he saw in the world, he is far richer than me. I hadn't realized till I watched this young man how depleted of joy I had become. He seemed to live in technicolor, and I felt like black and white. Joy had not been sucked out of me all at once, but more like a slow, continuous leak. I felt deflated from the continuous stresses of America, in Israel, in Jewish living, through relentless news stories and Doge firings and anti-Semitism and deepening divides in America and so much uncertainty. I had not noticed that my sense of joy had evaporated. Listening to this young man cheer the fireworks with unbridled enthusiasm, I realized what I had been missing. My emotions felt dampened, but seeing him, I was drawn out of my rut. I felt my cheeks plump up from the emerging smile, and I felt my eyes become moist at witnessing this joy. I was tearful. My heart felt fuller, felt lighter, felt freer. Mother Teresa is credited with saying, "Joy is a net of love by which you can catch many souls." He certainly caught mine that night. The fireworks reached their crescendo, burst after burst, and my new friend was roaring with euphoria. And then it ended. The caregiver helped him back into the van. They left. Sarah, Shosh, and I waited for the parking lot to clear before we got into our car. And I kept thinking about this young man, though. I kept thinking about how he helped me realize something I didn't even know I was missing. And for days, I had a happy tune in my head. I realized it was the melody for the 7th wedding blessing from the Sheva Brachot running through my head. Gila rina ditza vechevda ahava ve'achava ve'shalom ve'rehut. Joy and happiness, gladness, jubilation, cheer and delight, love, friendship, harmony and fellowship. The circumstances of the world had not changed, but I had reconnected with joy. In the Swaff Chapel, there are wording that are designed into the ark doors. You might have noticed it, but couldn't quite make it out. It's from Psalm 100. It was chosen by Chazan Lubin when we designed that space many years ago. Ivdu et Hashem b'simcha. On the right side, it goes from top to bottom. Ivdu et Hashem b'simcha, ba'u lefanav beranana. Serve the Lord with gladness, with simcha. Come into God's presence with shouts of joy. Chazan Lubin's hope was that for all of the various moments and reasons people come together to pray, that the room would be infused with joy even in moments when people could not tap into their joy in their hearts. Maybe joy and sadness are connected in some way. If you only felt sad, you would be depressed. And if you only felt joy, it would be mania. Emotions are best felt in association with each other. I'm sure I have told the story before, but I learned this lesson at the Barnes Foundation in Philadelphia. It's a terrific museum. At the time of the visit, I was going through a difficult time in my life. I turned a corner in a gallery and I saw an enormous canvas. It was Henry Matisse's vibrant painting titled "The Joy of Life." The painting features figures in a colorful, lush landscape, dancing, lounging, playing music. There's a wonderful energy about it. I stood there for some time, captivated by the colors and the feelings, and something stirred in me. I realized the only way the painting could happen was with the use of the entire palette of colors. Bright yellows and oranges, as well as deep blue and black. Matisse showed me that the joy of life was only possible through embracing the fullness of the color palette, just as I needed to embrace the fullness of my emotional palette, dark and bright emotions, to make the joy of life. Joy and sadness, delight and sorrow, jubilation and anguish. I needed to figure out how I was going to provoke myself to see joy, and maybe even to feel it. The painting, after all, lived in Philadelphia, and my encounter with the young man was just happenstance. Of course, our prayer book has a prayer for gratitude each morning, Moda ani lefanecha. But gratitude is not joy. They're close cousins, though. Liturgy did not feel like the right answer. I wanted a different kind of prompt for joy, something small and simple and subtle, maybe even something I could share with others. I wanted to find one small act each day to remind me, to nudge me towards joy. I know that I am helpless to save the hostages. I feel incapable to stop the vitriol of our politics. I cannot single-handedly reverse climate change or protect federal workers. Alone, I cannot stop the assault on science. My singular actions cannot solve these enormous problems. It took me a few days, but soon after those fireworks, I found the smallest, trite way to remind myself of joy. It is so banal that I fear it is not worthy of Rosh Hashanah. But tonight is about setting forth the spiritual and emotional work that we need to do from now through Simchat Torah. And reclaiming joy is worthy of that work. This is something small, but a reminder to myself that I have not lost my agency for the joy of life, despite the world's circumstances. To remind myself to resist despair, to claim my agency in the smallest of ways, I started to make a small fashion choice each day. I started to wear bright, fun, colorful socks every day. That's right, fun, brilliant socks. I cannot stop broad racial tensions in America or the gross belittling of the trans community in our country as a whole, but I can nudge myself, remind myself to find joy and thus hope and possibility each day. And I can share those small acts with those around me. A few Amazon deliveries later, and I have a drawer full of bright, colorful reminders of joy. Brene Brown has said, joy does not simply happen to us. We have to choose joy and keep choosing it every day. Despair is stagnation, but joy is movement. It is progress. It is moving beyond the moment. And like the wedding blessing, joy and happiness, gladness, jubilation, cheer, delight, love, friendship, harmony, and fellowship. These are emotions which move us forward, move us upward, move us towards each other. These are the nutrients which cultivate change and strengthen communities. I must say, I have loved it. I catch myself in a serious conversation, and my eye catches a flash of color near my pant hem. I cross my legs at home, and I am prompted to stop doom scrolling because it drains my sense of joy. The vibrant colors motivate me to take action, to find the positive energy, to not isolate myself. It pushes me to find ways to dig deeper into community, to resist the forces which thrive when we are divided, segregated, and adrift. And that is what I wish for you on these high holidays, that each of us will find a way to jumpstart joy, to reclaim positivity, and feel our agency in the world which feels dark and overwhelming. For each of us, I hope that joy overtakes despair, gladness trumpets over desperation, and delight heralds over melancholy. It is a choice. And for now, it is a choice I make starting at my ankles. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us exult and rejoice in it. Shana Tova.